2026년 4월 8일 수요일 오전 7시 9분입니다. 강연 TV를 시작하겠습니다. 이번 시간은 구약성경 사무엘상 23장 1절부터 영어성경으로 읽어보도록 하겠습니다. Then they told David, saying, Behold, the Philistines fight against Gera. And they robbed the threshing floors. Therefore David inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I go and smite these Philistines? And the Lord said unto David, Go and smite the Philistines and save Gera. And David's men said unto him, Behold, we be afraid here in Judah. How much more then if we come to Gera against the armies of Philistines? Then David inquired of the Lord yet again, and the Lord answered him and said, Arise, go down to Gera, for I will deliver the Philistines unto thine hand. So David and his men went to Elah, and fought with the Philistines, and brought away their cattle, and smote them with great slaughter. So David saved the inhabitants of Gera. And it came to pass when Abiathar, the son of Ahimelech, prayed to David to Keilah, that he came down with an ephod in his hand. And it was told Saul that David was come to Keilah, and Saul said, God has delivered him into my hand, for he is shut in by entering into a town that has gates and bars. And Saul called all the people together to war, to go down to Keilah to besiege David and his men. And David knew that Saul secretly practiced the mischief against him, and he said to Abiathar the priest, Bring hither the ephod. Then said David, O Lord God of Israel, thy servant has certainly heard that Saul seeks to come to Keilah to destroy the city for my sake. Will the man of Keilah deliver me up into his hand? Will Saul come down as thy servant has heard? O Lord God of Israel, I beseech thee, tell thy servant. And the Lord said, he will come down. Then said David, will the man of Keilah deliver me and my men into the hand of Saul? And the Lord said, they will deliver thee up. Then David and his men, which were about 600, rose and departed out of Illa and went whithersoever they could go. And it was told Saul that David was escaped from Keilah, and he forbore to go forth. And David abode in the wilderness in a stronghold, and remained in a mountain in the wilderness of sheep, and Saul sought him every day, but God delivered him not into his hand. And David saw that Saul was come out to seek his life, and David was in the wilderness of sheep in wood. And Jonathan, Saul's son, arose and went to David into the wood and strengthened his hand in God. And he said unto him, Fear not, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find thee, and thou shalt be a king over Israel, and I shall be next unto thee, and that also Saul my father knows. And they two made a covenant before the Lord, and David abode in the wood. And Jonathan went to his house. Then came up the Paitong to Saul to Gibeah, saying, does not David hide himself with us in strongholds in the wood, in the hill of Hagilah, which is on the south of Yeshimon. Thou therefore, O king, come down, calling to the desire of thy soul to come down, and our part shall be to deliver him into the king's hand. And Saul said, Blessed be ye of the Lord, for ye have compassion on me. Go, I pray you, prepare yet, and know and see his place where his haunt is, and who has seen him there, for it is told me that he deals very subtly. See therefore and take knowledge of all the king places where he hides himself, and come ye again to me with the certainty. And I will go with you, and it shall come to pass, if he be in the land, that I will search him out throughout all the thousands of Judah. And they arose and went to sheep before Saul, but David and his men were in the wilderness of Maon, in the plain on the south of Yeshimon. Saul also and his men went to seek him, and they told David, wherefore he came down into Rai and but in the wilderness of Maon. And when Saul heard that, he pursued after David in the wilderness of Maon. And Saul went on this side of the mountain, and David and his men on that side of the mountain. And David made haste to get away for fear of Saul. For Saul and his men come past David and his men round about to take them. But there came messenger to Saul, saying, "He's dead, and come, for the Philistines have invaded the land." Wherefore Saul returned from pursuing after David and went against the Philistines. Therefore they called that place Serah Hamat Hamanogot, and David went from thence and dwelt in a stronghold in Gedi. And it came to pass when Saul was returned from following the Philistines, that it was told him, saying, "Behold, David is in the wilderness of En Gedi." Then Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of all Israel and went to seek David and his men upon the rocks of the wild goats. And he came to the sheep coach. By the way, where was a cave, and Saul went in to cover his feet, and David and his men remained in the sides of the cave. And the men of David said unto him, "Behold, the day of which the Lord said unto thee, Behold, I will deliver thine enemy into thine hand, that thou mayest do to him as it shall seem good unto thee." Then David arose and cut off the skirt of Saul's robe privately. And it came to pass afterward that David's heart smote him, because he had cut off Saul's skirt. And he said unto his men, "The Lord forbid that I should do this thing unto my master, the Lord's anointed, to force mine hand against him, seeing he is the anointed of the Lord." So David stayed his servants with these words, and suffered them not to rise against Saul. But Saul rose out of the cave and went on his way. David also arose afterward and went out of the cave and cried after Saul, saying, "My lord the king." And when Saul looked behind him, David stopped with his face to the earth and bowed himself. And David said to Saul, "Wherefore hearest thou men's words, saying, Behold, David seeks thy heart." Behold, this day thine eyes have seen how the Lord had delivered thee today into my hand in the cave, and some bade me kill thee, but mine I spared thee, and I said, I will not put forth mine hand against my Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed. Moreover, my father moreover, my father, she is cut off the robe in my hand, for in that I crop the secret of the robe and killed did not know. And see that there is neither appear nor transgression in my hand, and I have not sinned against thee. Yet noticed my soul to take it. Through the judge between me and thee, and the Lord avenge me of thee, but mine hand shall not be upon thee. It says the proverb of the ancient wickedness proceeded so from the wicked, but mine hand shall not be upon thee. After whom is the king of Israel come out, after whom dost thou pursue, after a dead dog, after fury. The Lord therefore be Zozi, and Zozi be between me and thee, and see, and plead my cause, and deliver me out of thine hand. And it came to pass when David had made an end of speaking these words unto Saul, that Saul said, Is this thy voice, my son David? And Saul lifted up his voice and wept. And he said to David, Thou art more righteous than I, for thou hast rewarded me good, whereas I have rewarded the evil. And thou hast showed this day how that thou hast dealt well with me, for as much as when the Lord had delivered me into thine hand, thou killedst me not. For if a man find his enemy, will he let him go well away? Wherefore the Lord reward the good for that thou hast done unto me this day. And now behold, I know well that thou shalt surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel shall be established in thine hand. Severe now, therefore, unto me, if I eat the Lord, that thou wilt not cut off my seed after me, and that thou wilt not destroy my name out of my father's house. And David said unto Saul, and Saul went home, but David and his men get them up unto the horde. And Saul died, and all the Israelites were gathered together, and lamented him, and buried him in his house at Ramah. And David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran. And there was a man in Maon whose possessions were in Carmel, and the man was very great, and he had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail, and she was a woman of good understanding and of a beautiful countenance, but the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb. And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep. And David sent out then